All right, just finished up the scrimmage, but first thing I want to acknowledge, I know we've had some severe weather in the state here and throughout the state, so just want everyone to know our thoughts and prayers are with those that are going through this right now, and just heard about that. So we just finished up with our scrimmage, and I thought we worked hard today. We got some situational work, which was good. Got a chance to do some live work and have an opportunity to go out there and tackle and break tackles and work on some of those things that we've been spending time on in practice, and ultimately just having a chance to compete, which was good to see. We'll watch more and get more details from the film and really learn what we got done today, or with those situations and with what the guys did positionally, and then we'll get together tomorrow and we'll put that up in front of the team and go through some of the things we've got to correct moving forward. This next week we'll have a week off in between, and then we'll get back at it for the last 2 weeks before we go out there for A-Day. But I thought coaches, players, everybody operating, getting coaches up in the box, the communication process from the booth down to the sideline, from the sideline onto the field, and then the operation of the play and the execution. Those are all things we wanted to see, and first shot at it. Felt like the guys' energy was good. I thought the competitive side of things, we got a chance to see that, and there were some good things out there, and then plenty of things we know we need to work on and get better at, certainly in all areas. That did include special teams as well, although special teams wasn't live today. So when we go back and watch this film, the focus will be on what have we learned and what do we do now moving forward, and how do we take this information and apply it so that we can improve and get better, and what are the things as coaches and as players we need to focus on this next week, so as we get ready to apply that to the last 2 weeks, we're going to improve because of it. So with that, questions.
First question is from Jason Caldwell.
Ron, I guess no coach is probably, you never say you're ahead of where you thought you'd be, but are you pleased with the progress you guys have made in a short term so far this spring?
I wouldn't say we're ahead of any. There was really no point necessarily of what we said as a staff where we needed to be. Really today was just about operation and execution. That's it. Can we operate from the sideline, and can we execute the play? That's really what today was about. Simple as that. And first down is first down. What do we do on first down? Offense and defense. How do we operate in third down situations? How do we operate in the red zone? Those were the things that we were focusing on today. So there was really no set point of if we're here, we feel good. If we're not here, we don't feel good about it. It is simply about who can operate and execute. And we saw guys that could do that today, and we saw guys that need work. And that work comes from the preparation they have to be doing in order to operate and execute. And so the one thing about scrimmages or games or live work is you get a chance to see how far guys have really come in their preparation, how that applies to practice, how practice applies to scrimmages or live situations, and then that when you go live, it really doesn't lie. You get a chance to see who can tackle, who can make break tackles, and when we get in there and watch the film, we'll get a better look at that. But ultimately, I thought as far as just competing, we did do that. Guys were competing. Guys did play hard. Guys showed effort. Now it's about how do we clean some of the details up, and then where are we now at this point with our preparation? How far have we come as a staff with our players? Are we doing a good enough job of getting these guys ready to go out there and execute in a moment like we had today? And first glance of that, we've got a ways to go. We've got things that we know we need to work on, and that's okay. As long as we take that mindset into what we have to do moving forward, then we'll have a chance to continue to get better. If it becomes an issue, then we pull back, and we're going to end up really going backwards if we can't take what we learned today and apply it. And then our next practice, when we come back on Monday a week later, and be able to execute some of the things that we made mistakes on and have a week to go back and review those things. That's really going to be a gauge for us on how are we going to take this information, apply it to that second half of spring, and where do we go from there. And then we'll have enough information to go back and evaluate, all right, what did we get done? How far did we go through spring? Now what do we have to do moving forward into summer? And this process, it's not just about spring. It's about summer. It's about carrying over into fall camp and then ultimately the season.
Just, I guess, a quick follow-up. Alex Jackson's a guy that was a defensive lineman, got his really first taste of being a starter last year. What have you seen out of him now that he's had a year of experience under his belt at left tackle?
It's been good. I think there's a continuation of development on techniques, right? Different looks that you see, that will continue. I think that goes for everybody on our team, but no different for him. He understands what we're doing. I think he prepares himself well. He practices every day, I believe, intentionally to get better. And I want to see the film. I want to see what he was able to do today along with everyone else. And you're asking about him in particular, but it's that whole front five. It's tailbacks. It's everybody that is a part of the run game or protections. And hard to say right now. I didn't watch him completely and just focus on him. But we'll go back. Coach Friend will do a great job of evaluating the O-line. What do we need to do? And then we'll have our breakdown of that and apply that tomorrow with everybody and decide where are we at now and what are the things that those guys have to do to keep improving and what's the next step.
Jordan Hill.
Brian, I want to ask about J.J. McGee. We saw on Saturday he made a big block on Jacoby. Just what have you seen from him up to this point, and how can his versatility, help you guys on offense?
Yeah, I think he's a physical player. He's a physical player. He's a physical presence. I think that is what we'll be able to use really in any phase, any of the three phases. He could play on defense. He could play on offense. He could play on special teams. So he can do all those things. So the physicality of players, that's important, especially in this game. And when you're a physical player like he's played, there were some things today I thought he did well. Before I go back and say that he's the physical type player that we need right now, we need to watch what he was able to do. It's live. And in that situation, we weren't live in that practice. And so it's different. When you go out there and cut it loose and you play real football, I think things change, and that's really where you get a better gauge of where guys are at, just as far as their development and where guys are at with their physicality. And he's definitely done it in practice. He showed that. He's been able to do some things where you see it. Today was a big opportunity for him to show that, and right now I'm not able to say what he was able to do other than he executed some plays that I saw. He knew where to line up. That was a goal for the offense today, just get lined up, be in the right spot, and he was able to do those things. And I think he played. He was back and forth with special teams as well, so he was bouncing around practice. He got some good work in, and where we go with him moving forward, we'll decide from today's scrimmage what that looks like. How do we utilize him, and how do we use his ability, and then start to mess around with a few things that he can do probably a little bit differently moving forward.
Steve Moulton.
Coach, you mentioned about communication from off-field to on-field. Were you pleased with that? And how about Bo Nix overall? What did you think of his performance, Coach?
Yeah, you talking about the coaches' communication?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, it was solid. We didn't have any headset issues. That was positive. So the system worked properly. There was a few calls in there. One where rights or lefts are not called properly. Play might have been signaled in incorrectly. So it's those things that you pay attention to. It's those things that we can control that did not go the way that we planned, and why. That's what you go back and look at why. We control that. Those are things that we can get better at. Those are things as a staff that we can control, and that goes back to just the details and ultimately just being disciplined on making sure that every little thing is detailed and is put on the plan properly. So as we get out there and call plays, you get into the moment, you've already done that work, and you should trust that that player or the communication and the process is going to be done properly. That was solid. Not great, not bad, but I thought solid. As far as Bo, I think all the quarterbacks, there was a couple turnovers today. I think we fumbled the ball. I don't know if there was a pick in there. Might have been one pick. Wasn't Bo in there, but we had a couple turnovers on the offensive side. Defense, that's good. When we get those turnovers, balls on the ground, defense gets on it. They're hustling to the ball. I thought that was good to see from the defensive side today. Especially I think we had one in the red zone, and that's a big turnover that the defense is able to get. Bo was good. Bo operated, I think, the offense and did that well today. Still plenty of things at that position with him and everybody else that we've got to continue to keep developing and focusing on. And again, it just goes back to preparation. How much have you prepared? How much in that preparation when you go out there and practice, especially at the quarterback position, have you applied by putting yourself really in that mindset of the game at practice? Because you want to do that in order to get just the feel of when you get out there and play in live situations or you play in a game. And I thought there were some good things from him today. Operation seemed to be clean, and then a few little things where we had some penalties. Our first offense that went out there, I thought we hurt ourselves today with penalties. You want to stay ahead of the chains, and we just had too many in a couple drives where it backed us up, and you end up in a really difficult situation with third and a long ways to go, and that's hard on the offense, and the defense executed and made plays. I thought the defense put the offense in those positions at times, and those are the things that need to be cleaned up. Those are to be the things that we focus on. When I watch the film tonight, we detail that. We'll go back, have reasons why, and then we'll work on that at practice and figure out from the staff how to go out there and teach that better and make sure that we're communicating whatever the expectations are much better than we did. And then as players to go out there and understand the expectations and then go out there and actually execute it. I think that's what's going to show up from the scrimmage today at the quarterback position on the offensive side in particular.
Mark Murphy.
On defense and offense, any signs of players stepping up in leadership roles?
There were. I wouldn't single anyone out in particular. I didn't think there was necessarily anyone that stood out from that standpoint. There was plays that were made. There were certainly plays that were made. I wouldn't say that anybody from a leadership standpoint stood out today. I think they were out there just trying to make sure that they were doing their job on the field, that they were in the right spots, that they were getting the calls, that they were going through the operation every single play, and then executing. I thought that was what I saw today. I'm not sure that we're quite at that point now where guys are comfortable enough to just know this is the system, this is what we're doing, this is how we operate. So that was more, I think guys were just locked into what they had to do. 11 guys focused on doing their job. And a few things in special teams. We had a couple of special teams drills that were competitive. It wasn't 11 on 11, but we had some competitive drills, some 4-on-4 competitive drills. I thought the energy was good there. I thought some guys were encouraging other players and getting guys to step up and compete a little bit more during those drills. But few guys stepped up and spoke up in certain situations. And I would say more on the defensive side of just really what's the down and distance. We're getting to a third down situation. Hey, we want to get off the field. So there was communication that way and some reminders, but for the most part, it was more about just focus and execution from the guys today. And that's an area where as we get better and we get more prepared and understand the things that we're doing, I believe those things will come. They need to from our players, and I hope we see that in future practices and future scrimmages as we move forward.
Gianna Hahn.
Hey, so I was wondering, what are those things you've designated as points of focus specifically for Bo Nix, and how is he handling what you guys have been throwing at him?
For the quarterback, it's everything, A to Z. I mean, that's a point of focus for him. Nothing in particular, everything in general. I mean, that's really what it is for the quarterback position. So from the time you start a team meeting to how you go into your position meeting to how you prepare and take notes to what you do when you leave that position meeting and get out onto the field, how you warm up, how you start practice, how you operate through practice, how you get through drills, teams, 7-on-7, finish practice, all those things. I mean, that's the quarterback position every single day. And so all those things are focused on, and that's Coach Bobo, you know, his area, and I know he's done a good job that way. So that from the quarterback position, that's the main thing. From everybody overall, as far as the team goes, operation and execution. We got to be able to operate. You got to be able to get 11 guys on the field. You got to be able to have guys get the play call from the sideline. They got to be able to line up properly, and they got to be able to, once they've done that, execute whatever play is called. And that's really as simple as it gets right now. We're at that stage, just operation, execution, and at some point, I imagine that we'll be able to move forward from that. But those will be the two things that are foundational for us every single time. Is every single play we got to operate from the sideline. We got to operate on the field, whatever that is. We got to execute the play. And the more that we study, the more that we spend time preparing ourselves, the more that we decide that this is something that I'm going to have to spend not just meeting time, but some of my personal time and sacrifice some of that in order to get a little bit better and a little bit ahead and a little bit more prepared, then that's where we're going to probably see signs of growth, where we can do a little bit more, and maybe some of that leadership that we had talked about, that might show up. That's where we're at.
We're gonna take a couple more. Brian Matthews.
Yes, Brian Matthews, AuburnSports.com. I wanted to ask you about that week off. Is that something that you've done before and like to do? And what will the players be doing during that time again?
Yeah, I have done that. It's usually a spring break is what it is. There's no spring break here. There's wellness days that have been had throughout this spring. And so in order to keep that schedule the same, we just built that week in there. Now, players will have a chance to train. They're going to train. They're going to recover. There's going to be opportunities for them to come in and get extra film study. Coaches are going to go and some coaches are still transitioning their families. They still have personal things they need to do. So I think it's a welcome week for them to just go and finish up some things they had to do personally, get their families here, take care of their families, take care of some personal things, whatever it is. Some of us get a haircut, whatever it might be. So that's an important week for us. But yes, that would be, as we move forward into spring, a normal spring ball setup for this staff will be 2 weeks spring break, and then come back and have the 2 weeks and finish up with A-Day. And so we wanted to build that in, and also gives our strength coaches a chance to see a few practices, to see these guys go out there and play the game, and then reevaluate where are we at just from a strength standpoint, where are we at from a conditioning standpoint, and then really use that week to evaluate the players, get them in there, get a little work in, and then use that as we move forward in the second half of spring to better ourselves so we can finish strong.
Justin Ferguson.
Brian, I want to ask you about Javarius Johnson. We've seen a lot of him on Saturday.
Yeah.
Saw him again on today, and also doing punt return. What have you seen out of him? Because he's a guy we haven't got to see a lot in his first 2 years here.
Well, I think Javarius has done a good job. I think he's been one of the more consistent players day in and day out, just as far as his execution, his preparation. I think one thing in particular at the wide receiver position, they're going to run a lot in practice. There's a lot of conditioning that just naturally happens at the wide receiver position. But you watch guys, we run from drill to drill, we operate in an individual drill, we get into a team drill, a 7-on-7, whatever it is, and then you just see a guy that can still come off the ball. All right, after that time in practice, that last team period comes in there, and the guy's still getting off the ball. He's still exploding off the ball. He's still getting vertical or doing whatever he has to do at the right tempo, all right, and with the right urgency. And I've seen that from him seems to be one of the more consistent guys that does that. Because really, at the end of the day, a wide receiver, if you're not doing that, it's not very effective. If you're not able to have that stamina and be able to do that repeatedly over and over and over. And, you know, I think that's the beginning of really developing yourself at that position, is being able to do those things, being able to be conditioned, be able to come off the ball and be an explosive player, play after play. The great ones that play that position at wide receiver, that's what they do. They do it in the first quarter and they do it in the fourth quarter. And when you need them most in the fourth quarter, they're still able to explode off the ball. They're still able to attack the defense. And I think a lot of that, one, it's physical. I think a lot of it's just mental. Some guys really just are able to mentally get themselves in a position where that's what I do. This is part of that position, and they do it consistently. And some guys, I think they let a lot of other factors get into their heads a little bit, and then it becomes sluggish, lazy, whatever you want to call it, off the ball. And it really does you no good from an offensive standpoint to have anyone at that position that plays that way. And so I've seen from him, he's played faster, and he's done it more consistently. His execution today, I think there was a few plays he was in on. I don't know if it was on him necessarily, whether he lined up misaligned. But we had a few things in there with the group he was in on, and I think several other players at that position where our alignment and assignments need to improve. And you got to be able to do it properly. You got to be able to be in the right position. You got to be able to come off the ball, explode, and be physical in the run game or be electric in the pass game. And so that way we can go attack the defense. He's done more of that. We'll find out kind of what that looks like after today. But up to this point, I've seen that from him. He's made some plays in practice.
All right, Coach. Appreciate your time. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.